Hey guys, it's Michael. I just wanted to watch my music video for Her World or Mine with y'all and explain some important scenes and give you some more in detail about the making of this music video and some of the behind the scenes stories of scenes that when I watch, it takes me back to that day of us filming it in California, and also little things that maybe you didn't pick up on that we left you little hints. I just wanted to watch this with you, give you some of my thoughts, give you some in details of each scene, and I appreciate y'all tuning in. We're gonna watch this right now. So the video starts out kind of giving you a little glimpse into all the scenes that make up the video, from my sister, my parents, myself. So the penny is a representation of my connection with my grandparents and what I feel is our communication now since they've passed on. I've played the Grand Ole Opry 49 times, and I've actually have 49 pennies that I've collected that I've seen one every time I've played it. And in random little places, I feel like they always pop up. So my grandmother's nickname was Penny, so this is the connection between little boy Michael and adult Michael that you will end up seeing at the very end. Daniel, this little boy, is such an incredible actor. He was one of the smartest kids I've ever hung around. And now we're seeing Ashley, who's playing the part of my sister, Brittany.
Still has our picture taped up on the dash. One of us.
So the only part of the video that's not exactly true to my story is my grandfather did pass away before my grandmother did, but with this being a song called Her World or Mine, and I felt like when my grandmother passed away, it shined a different meaning of what Her World or Mine kind of started to mean to me, which was what I felt like she moved on and we were all left here trying to figure out how to live life without such a massive part of all of our lives and our family.
Us took that one from Mexico, threw it in the trash. One of us don't even notice when the radio plays that song. One of us breaks.
I remember this table scene, Chad, who's playing my dad, he went to hit the bowl and actually hit Daniel's hand. And I think he hit him harder than he meant to. And poor Daniel's hand was covered in mac and cheese. And it was made on set that day at this random house that we were in. And thank you, Danielle, Daniel, and Chad, for eating possibly the worst mac and cheese you've ever had in your life.
Down and has to pull over whenever it comes on. Now there ain't no in between when it comes to her and me. One of us moved on, one of us got stuck, one of us is drinking.
So now you're seeing all of the characters kind of get into, you're seeing a little bit more into their day-to-day life and where the video is actually going.
Just for fun, one of us is drinking to get drunk. One of us sleeps good, one of us hates to face the night. Just depends if you're talking about her.
So when Daniel's sitting in his room playing guitar, that speaks so much to where I was at that time in my life. When I was about 8 years old is when I first started learning chords, and it was at the time of my parents' divorce, and for me, it was my outlet. So I knew that if I was in my room playing guitar, or at a community center playing with my grandfather or his bands, I always felt like everything was right in my world, and nobody was fighting, nobody was arguing, everybody was happy. And so I just stayed in my room as much as I could and just played guitar constantly. And it was just my outlet, it was my safe place, and it came kind of like a therapy to me.
Her world or mine.
So this scene right here where Chad and Danielle are arguing and Daniel gets busted kind of peeking through the corner. Man, this really hits me hard, because this is, I vividly remember these moments like they were yesterday. And I remember, we grew up in this double wide trailer, so there's not a lot of room to really really hide or argue quietly. And when you're going through something as traumatic as a divorce can be, it's, feelings are high, emotions are high. And so you're not really paying attention to what's around you. And so I vividly remember witnessing a lot of real bad arguments and witnessing them trying to work through whatever they were going through at that time and peeking around the corner and getting caught and getting yelled at to go back to my room, and now I just go start playing guitar again.
There's a number on a phone that one of us erased. There's a late night, can we try again call one of us wants to make, 'cause one of us can't even think.
They did pretty good at really making sure my room looked exactly probably how it did at that time, which was an absolute mess.
Being in another's arms, and there's a car in the drive that stayed all night where one of us used to park. One of us moved on, one of us got stuck, one of us is drinking just for fun, one of us.
At this scene, you're seeing Ashley, who's playing my sister Brittany, going through breakup, going through an abusive time, and I just this scene kind of speaks to me in a few different ways. I feel like she's grown up a lot in the last few years and went through a lot, and this scene kind of makes me feel like like how it wasn't in this time for her. And
us is drinking to get drunk, one of us sleeps good, one of us hates to face the night. Just depends if you're talking about her world or mine. For a while we had forever.
So this scene where Chad kind of moves the chair out for Daniel to come sit down. First off, Chad is one of my best friends and a guy that I feel like is somebody that I'm so blessed and fortunate to have in my life, not just as a friend, but in some cases as a mentor of just how he is in his career and personal life and where I'm at in my life. I feel like I'm better off for having buddies like him. And I knew that he would give this role his all, because that's the only way he knows how to do things. And so he really portrayed my father in such a great way. And in this scene, it really shows the relationship that my dad and I have, of kind of just, going through life together, no matter what, always having each other's back, no matter how hard times might be or what might happen. It was always him and I. And so this scene just really embodies my relationship with my dad since as far as I can remember. And Chad and Daniel, both the little boy playing me, really put their alls into these roles and really just made it come to life and made a lot of these roles hard for me or a lot of these scenes made it hard for me to watch.
In our hands, that's why one of us can't understand how one of us moved on.
So what you're about to see is
One of us got stuck.
everybody come together. You're going to realize that the girl is my sister. You're going to realize that Robert, playing my grandfather, is Chad's dad. So everybody's coming into this house. I remember it took us so many times to get this scene right, because what you don't see is behind Chad to his right is about 35 people crammed into a corner with cameras, with playback reels, with TV screens, makeup artists, everybody. I think we shot this scene probably the most out of any scene just because we kept seeing something from everybody. And it was pretty hot too that day, so everybody had to keep getting their makeup touched up and everything. So this scene was probably the hardest scene to shoot out of all of them, just because there's so many people that you don't see crammed in a corner in this living room. I love this scene because Robert, who's playing my grandfather, his emotion and his face and his delivery was just so spot on. So this penny right here, when you look at it right here, actually says 1945. Took us forever to find this penny. 1945 is the year my grandmother was born. And throughout this video, there's these little subtle hints and little nods to her. And this is one of the big ones. So I have this same penny tattooed on the inside of my arm with her birth year on it, and we really just wanted to have little things that if you really paid attention to, you'd catch on. That was just a tip of the hat to her and my family.
Her world.
So this scene was probably the hardest for me to watch. Originally, she had no bracelets or no rings on her fingers, and my grandmother, her whole life, as far as I can remember, always had silver and turquoise rings on every finger, bracelets, always done up to the nines, no matter where she was going. And so when she passed away, all my family and all, we were all like, she has to have rings on her fingers. That's how she was all of our lives. So I stopped everybody. I said, hey, she has to have rings on her fingers. And I think some lady was like, no one gets buried with rings on her fingers. And I was like, well, my grandmother did. So that's what we need. And so we put them on, and randomly, the makeup artist or the stylist, somebody had these rings. And these rings look like rings that my grandmother would have worn. And so we put them on her, and I go back to watch it played back. And I got very emotional, and so much that I had to walk away, and I really couldn't watch this, and even watching it now kind of hits me hard, just because it's still new. We lost my grandmother in January of 2019, so still very real, still very new, and she was very special to me and my family, and so seeing this just really puts me back in that place at her funeral whenever I was standing there and saying my last goodbyes to her. So this scene was definitely the hardest for me to watch, and still is. And this is really the only scene that I had to warn my family about. I wasn't worried about any other scene except for this, just because it's so spot on to my grandmother and the day of her funeral. Yeah, so the two people walking here aren't just two random people. We had a contest, and we flew out these two fans to be in the music video. So they're not just two random people that happen to be there. They actually won a contest and got to play a part of my family, I guess. This scene really symbolizes my relationship with my grandfather when he was alive. Always the guy that we all kind of clung to, always the guy that every guy in our family tries to be and strives to be, honestly. And so this scene, even though he's passed on, this scene really embodies mine and his relationship, especially at this time during my parents' divorce. I really leaned on him. Really, our relationship really grew during those times, and he was always kind of that guy that I knew I could lean towards, and if scared or in different situations of life, I always knew that he had my back. So this scene right here is obviously when you realize that Daniel is me as a little boy. And I remember this scene being so emotional for me. Like there wasn't really an acting going on. It was real. It just all kind of hit me, just because the emotions were high that day already. The song is so emotional. The song means so much to me. This video was the first video of really allowing you guys into my personal life of the past and my parents' divorce and situations with my sister that she's been through and the loss of my grandmother, and it just all hit me all at once. And I remember looking at that penny and what that symbolizes to me and what that means to me. And as I've told y'all about this penny, you all have told me stories of pennies with your families that have passed on or friends. And I just kind of hit me at once of just how strong that symbol means. And something so small as literally just a 1 cent coin means $1 million to me. And so looking at this coin and just kind of everything just kind of hit me at once. And I just bawled my eyes out during this scene, and it was heavy during this time, and just there wasn't any acting. It was all all very real. That's my beautiful grandmother. I sent those flowers to her. It was her first Valentine's after my grandfather passed away. Without her, they were married for 53 years. And my grandfather passed away February 4th. And so I thought, he always got her flowers every year, so someone's got to take up his job. So he wasn't there to do it. So that was the first bouquet of flowers that I sent her. Sent her one every year after he passed away until she passed in January of 2019. But that was one of my favorite photos of her. And yeah, I miss her. And that was a music video for Her World or Mine. Thank y'all so much for watching with me. I hope y'all love it as much as we love making it. Thank you for letting me tell my story. Thank you for allowing me to be very vulnerable. And I love hearing your stories. So please hit me up. Let me know what you think about it. And we'll see you on the road.